Much for being here. When the program director said, why do you want to do this? It's because I'm selfish. And I can't just call Johnny and be like, you want to hang out and tell me stories? It doesn't work like that. So you have to create an event, an excuse for him to get up, get gussied up, and spend time with me today. So we're going to make Johnny behave for a few minutes, but I want to introduce Lawrence Laughing Happy. Everybody knows him.
Oh.
And he's going to sing us some songs and get us in the indigenous vibe so we're able to receive Johnny's Johnniness. So again, thank you guys so much for being here. I'm excited. And breathe shallow, it's kind of warm. All right, Happy, welcome.
Oh, thank you. So good to see each and every one of you today. It's such an honor to be here to talk and honor Johnny like this. He's very important to the world, you know. Our storytellers, they're our history, they're our spirituality, and they do it with an oral tradition, and that's the most important part because it comes from your heart, from the heart to the heart. So that's the most important. What Johnny does is his heart. It's so important. Yestemini. So I want to sing an honor song for Johnny, a couple of them. It's a beautiful day. It's a good day. So I'm going to do a song that was given to me up in Manitoba. It's called The First Human Being. So they call that the first human being, or the first Ojibwe up north. And they say that the first human being that came, he left that song for all of us. So it's an honoring song, a special song. And it's all about all of us being that first human being too. And I'm just going to sing one more for Johnny, and then I'll let Johnny take it away. So in my home, I come from Akwesasne, and my name is Ahlawalade, and I belong to Painted Turtle people. That's who my mother is, who her mother was, all the way from beginning of time, we say. And that's the last name that I carry. It's from my mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers. So in my community, Akwesasne, trouble came in the 80s, and a civil war came to us, and it became between the traditional people ourselves. So after the war, it lasted 3 years, many things came to us. And so one of the things that came to us was a Native American church. But being who we are, we kind of changed it a little bit. So it came to us in 1990 because of this war. So I began to learn some of those songs too. Some of them I find very beautiful. So I'm going to share a peyote song in honor of Johnny, the medicine you know. Winene yana, winene yana, winene yana, hene. Winene yana, winene yana, hiya wanena hene nu, hiya wanena yana, hene nu. Winene yana, winene yana, winene yana, hene. Winene yana, winene yana, hiya wanena hene nu, hiya wanena yana, hene nu. Winene yana, winene yana, winene yana, hene. Winene yana, winene yana, hiya wanena hene nu, hiya wanena yana, hene una. Where I come from, 3 is our most important number. That has to do with having a good mind, saying good words, all based on peace. So a long time ago, we used to follow the 4 directions. But our peacemaker came to us and he changed all that on us. He totally restructured everything about us. So 3 became our most sacred and powerful number. So where I come from, we do everything in 3, not in 4. Or 5 or 8. 1, 3, 5, 8, 13 are all sacred numbers to my people. So it's something that the peacemaker, he changed about us. We couldn't quite go back to our old ways again. So we had to come about a new way at that time. That was after 500 generations of warfare, they say. Thousands and thousands of years ago, a peacemaker came to us and he found a way to change all that and bring great peace to the land and to our Mother Earth. And mostly what he reminded us is that our mother, you know, she gave birth to all of us. She doesn't want us to fight like any good mother. And so just reminded us of why we're here. And we're not here to fight. We're here to get along, to honor, to love. So that's why we're here today, to love Johnny Moses. And he's pretty easy to love too, you know. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. And thank you for this opportunity to sing these songs for Johnny and our storytellers and great people. Thank you. Yes.
Can I unmic you?
Yes, yes.
Johnny, we're going to mic you up because it's fancy. So everything you say will be recorded and used against you in a court of tribal law. No, well, there's a few, but they look like they get it.
That's his niece.
So let's see. I mean, tuck it in your pocket.
No, like there.
Tuck in your underwear. I don't know, Johnny.
Yeah,
This is getting sexy. Well, you can't tell with the cord and all your beans. Is that a mic in your pocket, or are you just happy to see us? Johnny Moses is going to tell stories and regalia. So we're going to laugh. We may cry. We may learn something. We may forget something we knew yesterday. So he's going to share some stories, and then we're going to open it up, get these chairs out of the way, and explore his art and his beadwork. And what he shared with me is that this art has stories. So he's going to share a little bit about each of these pieces and their significance to him. So sit back, relax, grab a hand if there's one next to you. Johnny Moses, welcome. Welcome to the platform.
You're like Abraham Lincoln. I'm very honored to be here, and I will share in my native language. I haichka ena kutit akusin chintiona ana hatakusatitil. I know we're going to have a blast and have a wonderful time. And I'm so happy that we're having this storytelling here. And I'm so grateful to all the people, the native people that are here, all you locals and unlocals. And I have special thanks for the Maidum Maidu people who helped me, the healing that I had received quite a while ago. And that's why I party all the time now, because I'm well. But I was looking at all the old photographs that we'll be sharing with you, and some of these paintings were done of the elders. And I'm a member of the Indian Shaker religion, and also the Indian, I belong to two spiritualities. The Sissi was the Red Cedar Circle, that's our old medicine, that's the drum. And then I also belong to a Indian Christian faith, it's called the Indian Shakers. They believe in Jesus, but they don't read the Bible. They believe in loving people, and they don't believe in converting people, because that people feel like they're being convicted. So, so I'd like to share a Shaker song with you, and ask my brother Bowie and my sisters here, you help sing, and we have some, Jeremy and Carrie, would you like to help us sing too? And I would like to remember that Carrie here, our beloved sister, it's all her fault. That's why I liked this part of the country. 26 years ago? Yeah. 26 years ago, she invited me to tell stories, so I told some naughty stories here at the old radio station where she worked, and Mary, I'm glad Mary, and we did a recording that time there, and that recording from 26 years ago, we recorded the seasonal medicine songs, and that is going to be housed at the Smithsonian. So we will be remembered forever and ever. Isn't that wonderful? And it's all Carrie and Mary's fault. But this is a song we sing to thank the Spirit. In our language, we have the same word for singing and crying. When we cry tears of sorrow, when someone dies, or when a baby is born, tears of joy. And if someone dies that you can't stand, sometimes it is tears of joy too, depending on the relative. So we like to keep a balance. O masi to twalks nans man si to na si to santas play. O masi sta. Oh, 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 hey, Sita talks, announce man, Sita na, Sita Santa's play, oh, my sister. In our native language, other people say, is that the Holy Trinity? It is, but our old people, the way they translated it was this way, over here, and over there, and over here.
Amen.
Masi, thank you, dear beloved ones. And it's a good thing I was healed from my stroke because I felt the thing moving on down. supposed to be moving on up, but so I don't know. I'm going to do this with the. So, oh, I guess I could click it. Yeah, it was just sliding all the way down. Yeah. Slip sliding away.
I just got grabby with your pants.
I am so thankful to the Creator. Isn't it wonderful to be alive? And we are so blessed. And atu sa chit kalan, anet nakasoi chit kao nchotis. We are so blessed to be with our friends and relatives. And as we tell these stories, that maybe our ancestors or our beloved ones, people who have left us, will be strengthened when they hear us laughing and crying and living our life. They'll say, gee, I remember when I used to do that. And so we are so fortunate to have this time of storytelling. In our native culture, many scholars, storytellers, call the Native American stories myth and lore. But we know they are the teachings. Ha ha! And I always laugh when I with the old timers, old people, you know, a lot of them were so happy that when it made it legal to tell Indian stories in public. But, you know, some of the anthropologists, you know, many of them that come, you know, and it was still against the law, you know, to tell some of the stories. But the old people did what they wanted, you know, old timers, they just do what they want, you know. And they says, we don't, we only listen to the Great Spirit. And it's our time to go, it's time to go. But that's all we listen to. But they were so amazed that these anthropologists and all the other ologists wanted to record these old people telling stories. Isn't that wonderful? Thank God that they recorded some of our elders. Because some of our elders, some of them had a cry in their heart. They couldn't tell the stories to their own grandchildren anymore. They couldn't, some of them were scared too, because maybe they were afraid that they'd be beaten and like they were in the boarding school. I know it's true because I'm the last generation to experience boarding school, and we got punished for speaking our language, native language. And I got in trouble for speaking English too. And in Canada, it's all my sister's fault. My sister, Fatter, that was her nickname. And her job was to teach me how to, she was really my first cousin, but we were raised as brother and sister. We call all our cousins brothers and sisters. We only call them cousins when we're cussing at them. And my poor sister, the first thing she tried to teach me, because I was raised in Vancouver Island, British Columbia. And then when I come to the States, to my father's people, which is in Tulalip, and I didn't know any of the English, just a few words, like, I'm hungry, I need to pee, I farted, things like that, you know. And then, so my sister my grandma Ivy says, you teach your brother how to talk the borrowed language. We call the white man's language the borrowed language. He's gonna learn that, but he should learn a little bit more so he won't get punished too much when he go boarding school. Well, my sister, this is a true story I'm telling you. And if you're listening to this story, you can say, I'm listening. In English, because I'll tell it in English.
I'm listening.
And then I'll maybe share the Snohomish Tulalip. That's what I had to speak when I went to Tulalip. I was raised with 4 languages all through my childhood, so I had to learn my mother's side of her languages, to start with 2, and then my father's side, the 2 languages. And so Snohomish was one of the languages on my father's side, and also Yakima. That's in the country like that. There are mountain people there. So she proceeds to teach me, and she says, we can't be around the old people when I teach you, because they get irritated easily.
I'm listening.
So she teaches me, and she said, she just teach. My sister, she could talk real good Indian, and she didn't go to boarding school. She always ran away from school all the time, and she only went to school because she liked to play basketball and football. She taught all her sons how to play football. She was quite an amazing lady. So I learned the English words, and she said they're very, very important, very sacred.
I'm listening.
Ha ha means sacred. Forbidden, it also means forbidden. Sacred is forbidden. And so I go back to Canada, back to the island, Vancouver Island. And you see where I lived, it was the Nootka country, Nuu-chah-nulth. And that is like 300 miles up the island from Victoria, northwest. It's way in the other end of the island. And then we live on another island. So there's hundreds of islands around Vancouver Island. And so when I got home, and then my grandparents, I went to boarding school late because my grandparents would hide me when the government agents come. So I was lucky. I was supposed to go to boarding school. They were sending the children at the age of 3 and 4 years old. You were supposed to go. And I got to wait till I was 9 years old. So, and finally they told my grandparents. My grandparents was the only mom and dad I knew. And they said, if you don't let him go to school, we'll take him away from you, the government, the crown, the royal crown. And you'll be adopted out and be assimilated that way if you want to, if you don't want to follow the laws of the queen. Oh, so I'll just teach it. And so I went to school, and it was a Catholic boarding school. There were 2 churches in British Columbia that were hired by the provincial government to educate and assimilate the native heathens. And the one was the Anglican Church, as known as Episcopalian, the pissed off church. No. And then there was the Roman Catholic. Those were the 2 main ones that they jumped to the cause because they got funding from the government. And they said, don't bother with the Protestants because they don't have a religion. That's what they were just terrible. The English are more English in British Columbia. It's just horrible if you want to experience that. There's a few still like that. So I went to the boarding school, and I was fortunate. There was a nun there who spoke our language, and she lived among our people for 30 years. And so she could speak Nuu-chah-nulth or Nootka fluently and all the dialects. There are 32 dialects of Nootka, and and she could speak them all with her English accent. And she was from England, and she had a beautiful accent, and she was so happy to see me at the boarding school, and the church made her go there. She didn't want to leave our village, you know. And she said, that was my child name, which means always stepping in mud. And she said, oh, good God gracious, Jesus, Joseph, and Mary. They sent you here. You finally come to school? And she told me in Indian, in my language, don't talk Indian. Don't talk your language, because you will get hurt. And I never ever seen that before. I had never, our elders would, they would spank us, but they spanked us with scaring us with stories. Like tell us about the monsters at night. And then after they were done, they'd give me a bucket and say, go and get some water, and it'd be dark outside. I never would do it. I refused to. I said, no, I'm educated now. Well, anyway, and we would have to go to Mass every morning. We went to Mass 3 times a day, the morning, afternoon, and evening. And marching, we marched into the cathedral. And there was a very large boarding school, native Indians and Eskimos, Inuits, from all over Canada, maybe about 500 children, and for many, many, many tribes. You know, we had some Mohawks there too. So I was so proud of what I learned. Oh, good! I could practice my English. And by that time, I waited for a long time because I was kind of scared, you know, and shy. I believe it actually was a shy person at one time. It lasted for a few minutes in my childhood. So we're in Mass, and you know, in them days, and those nuns, that heavy, the just covered up, you know, that just heavy, you know, and and of course you always in the kneeling and praying, and oh my God, it's just the one thing we learned a lot of religion, and I didn't know what religion was. I'm listening. And the nun would tell us, you know, you don't have no religion. And I says, I know. That's why we're happy people. We're spiritual. Well, I finally decided to try my English, and I tried it at the wrong place because we were in church, in the cathedral. And then us who all spoke our language, like Sister Mary, we don't have no R's, so we called her Meli, and she allowed me to say the prayers in our Nootka language. And so we'd pray, in the Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, full of grace. And so as we prayed, but then after a while, after a month, she says, no, you've got to use English now, you should have it memorized. And we had to learn the Quebecois, the French also, and the English. The French was easier. I thought the French were Indians, because they were always partying with my grandparents. But they're Indians. And I have a lot of cousins who are half French, you know. I guess they call them Métis or something. So the Catholic nun says, so we hear you went to that Yankee side. We heard you're part Yankee.
I'm listening.
yes, I know how to say, yes, yes, ma'am. And you must be always polite and respectful. And it was so hard for me to, they wanted me to look right in her eyes. And I hated looking in her eyes because I knew when she needed to go to the bathroom or she was having cramps or something. Because, you know, when their eyes dilate, you know, and it's scary. It's like they're watching The Twilight Zone or Outer Limits. So she asked me, oh, so you learn English those Yankees, those Americans, they don't speak real English. They don't even know Queen's English. You are here and you're going to learn how to speak proper Queen's English. And we did, you know, and it was funny. By that time, all the Indians were speaking Queen's English, but none of the English were speaking that kind of English. And we were all the Indians having high noon tea and everything. We're adopting all these English habits, you know. We were very, very particular, and we became snotty. In a proper way, high class way, of course. And so I said to sister, I'm ready to share my English now, my Yankee English. It is called American English, I believe. And so she told me to stand up, and I stood up. And in the cathedral, you know how beautiful the sound, singing, the Gregorian chanting and everything echoes in there. So I began to share my first English words I learned from my dear sister she first taught it to me about maybe when I was 5 years old, but she didn't tell me the meaning until I was 9. And so I learned to project my voice, and our old people say, talk loud. Talk loud, don't mumble around. And speak so you got a lot of relatives who are hard hearing or who don't want to listen to you. So you must learn how to talk loud. And don't worry if they think you're mad at them. That's a good sign. They won't bother you or they won't borrow money from you. And so I stood up and I said, but being a good Catholic, I named the Father and the Son, Holy Spirit. I prayed. And I asked Mother Mary to watch over me. And then I said, this is the English my sister taught me. You goddamn fucking son of a bitch! And I echoed down through the whole cathedral, and you could hear this, like 500 children gasping. The ones who knew English, you know, because there were a lot of newcomers. There was about 80 or so native children who didn't know those. A lot of them were familiar. They've heard those words before. They always hear the white people yelling at their cows or whatever things and saying those words when they thought it was some kind of sacred words they were sharing with them. So that was that's true, the first English goddamn fucking son of a bitch. Oh, asshole. Because I was in a holy place, so. I used to love to sing that song, Holy, Holy, Holy. I am so grateful. And that's a true story. And I know when I share those stories, people who are suffering, they'll be comforted wherever they are. And, okay. Yes, I better some traditional stories. I'm going to share some of the traditional stories, and then maybe a couple stories about the artwork as well. The first story I'd like to share is my sister brought this. This is the type of baskets our people make it, nutka or nuchanal and macaw. Is it okay to they can pass it on? I'm just making sure there's no marijuana in there.
There's a squirrel.
My grandmother used to make check it, always check it, because you can sell it, you know. I didn't never know what she was talking about. But anyway, this is the whale, because our people were whale hunters, and my grandfather was a whale hunter. He said amazing stories of the whale hunt. And they hunted the whale. They always had potlatch, and it would feed the people for the whole year. And I didn't like whale meat. To me, it tastes like old corned beef, and I guess it wasn't cooked right or something. But I didn't really like it that much. So, but I used to like to go to the celebrations because we'd get money and candy and chocolate and all that stuff, you know. But anyway, this is the twining, and this is bear grass. Since we live in Grass Valley, bear grass, and then the dyes that are on here are natural dyes, and they use berries and other different plants. I'll pass this around. This is really nice work. And then there's the canoe, katana, when the triangle like that. Those are represent women, medicine women. They're mountain. They're shaped like a triangle, but they're ladies. Ladies of high stature, high class women that you can't argue with. They usually have about 10 or 12 husbands, you know. So. And then the whale, and then there's the star, and that's the star we call the bear star, and because our people, the bear was one of the strongest doctoring medicines, the bear, and also good love medicine too. We could pass that around. But I'm going to share a story about the basket, of how the basket making came to our people. And I was so lucky, my grandparents would bring me all over the country, in the United States and Canada, to wherever my elders lived, and to listen to them and tell stories. And my grandparents visited. They were real old timers. They didn't just visit for, half an hour or 20 minutes, and they never called anybody. They just would show up. They were really old-fashioned. My grandfather, he was educated, and so he said, maybe we should, we might catch them, and we don't want to embarrass them or something. And she said, oh, just use your medicine powers, you'll know what they're doing. So I never did see my grandparents call anybody. They just would show up. And then they used to just love to harass our younger relatives and make them miserable. Like they'd see my grandparents come in, oh my God, they're going to visit for a week or 2 weeks, a month or something like that. A short visit was a week, 1 week. And see, they were bringing me to all the teachers, the ones who, teach in the languages, to learn all the languages. I speak 9 native languages. And so I traveled to 9 different tribes to learn the 9 other languages. And it was just an amazing time for me, learning different languages and the languages from the land. So I just enjoyed it so much. And my grandparents knew how to run away from their relatives too. we'd visit our relatives, because Indian people, old in them days, we don't have word for goodbye. You know, we have see you later, or we say, I hope we don't see you later. But when the relatives, it was a tradition to always keep your relatives when they're visiting and not let them go home early. And so my grandmother said, you're going to learn this. This is the first thing you learn if you don't want to stay with your relative. And we had to wake up at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning, and we'd run away. Run away. And of course, my grandparents didn't have a phone. So, but they always knew when the person was home because they were medicine people. It's cheaper to be a medicine person. Sometimes. So this story, they drove me all the way to Yakima. And Grandma Ivy had a sister, the half-sister. Her name was Iola Brown, her English name. And she was a beautiful medicine woman. She was an Indian doctor. She was a sucking doctor. And she was also a shaker. And then she was a good pool shark. So I learned how to play pool from Grandma Iola. After she done singing Indian songs or telling stories, they said, let's go play pool. And so, if you listen to the story, say, Ani. Ani. That means, oh my. Ilan po ko na ilam sust ko natlat kapanan tuna uyit awashin po pananet. The name of the story, they all have a name because all the stories are people. And so they have names like us. And and this is called The Stupid Lazy Girl that lived with her grandma. And long ago, there lived this stupid, lazy girl. All she do is sleep all the time. Sleeping all the time. She was always tired, especially when she got done eating. And she ate a lot. And she didn't really eat, she just kind of just stuffed herself. And the grandmother, Katla, would say, I'm so tired of you just laying around. Why don't you get up and do something? And she'd wake up for a few minutes. All right. And she'd go back to sleep for a few hours. And this is how she lived. And she only was awake for a few minutes at a time. Just long enough to eat or swallow or gulp her food. And so Katla got really just disgusted. You know, it was, in our culture, it was grandma and grandpa that raised the children. Because the parents were the ones, they'd be working hard, providing, you know, the food and everything else. But it was the old people that were our teachers, all the old people. And every one of them was your mom and dad. You could never talk back to them. You never get a word in. There, she said, "I'll wake up now." And oh yes, her Katla, her grandma was a cedar tree. It was a beautiful, ancient, old-growth tree. And her granddaughter, who's always stupid and lazy, she'd lean on the tree and and oh, it just drive her grandmother nuts. She said, "Stop leaning on me! Wake up!" She woke up right, and you know, she was so lazy she didn't even walk. Her cutler, she said, "Hey, Pakanawatana, wake up right now! Get up and do some work. Get a job or something. You only been living at home for 35 years. And she'd say, "All right." She'd crawl and go to sleep. Wake up for a few minutes, crawl. That's how she traveled. Or they'd say she'd scoot on her butt. That's how she massaged herself. There, the grandmother said, "Start digging now. Dig in the, you'll find roots. You'll find strength, and you will listen to nature." Yes, clean the balls of wax out of your ears. And so she did that. She dug. Well, of course, she slept hours. Wake up a few minutes, dig just a few minutes, go to sleep again. Took a long time. Digging roots. Any of you basket makers, you know what it's like, hard work, digging the roots. She got the roots. The roots were so impatient. She said, "Oh no, it's that stupid lazy girl. We gotta live with her. Oh no, go now." Why does the Creator do this to us? She gathered them, roots, all these roots, the people. Grandma gave her teaching. "Hey, Kakapanawat! Listen to the wind. Look at the wind. Watch it, listen." She had to yell at her granddaughter because that's the only way her granddaughter would wake up and oh, see, I'm still. Gee, I should have warp something with that. Anyway, so thank God stupid lazy girl doesn't wear a microphone. And so there she oh, I gotta translate. One time I told stories for a whole half an hour one time, and my sister said, "You gotta talk English." You know, they're paying you to do this, you know, you gotta. Oh, really? Oh, I thought I was talking English. He was talking my language. But so she worked her roots, she followed the movement of the wind. And the wind taught her. And when the wind is in the strongest power, it moves in a circle. And when it moves in a circle, she didn't know what circle was. Because she was always sleeping. And so she tried to move it in a circle, working her roots. And then she finished her basket. And you give your first basket away to the elders, you know. So she was going to give it to Grandma. She was so proud. This is my first work. And the Grandma says, "Epakosh, chus, Does it hold water? Is it watertight? Did you test it out? I didn't know I had to do that. Well, gotta rip your basket all the way down again, start all over. In our stories, in the Yakama people, their sacred number is 5. 5 symbolizes life. And so she does the original is really long, so I'll just make it short. 4 tries later. There she got to the 5th time. She got good at weaving now. And then she learning songs, birds singing to her. Even the branches, when she'd hear the sounds that were speaking to her, she was learning the trees' language. Learning everything, and she began filled with life. And she finished her basket. And she tried it out. She put it was cedar root basket, dip it in the river, and it held water. She had to carry it all the way up there. This time now she was walking, because she was always crawling. Then she got to her cutler, her grandma, and she said, "El kapanawan ayayash." That's in our language. Ayayash. Can you say ayayash? We translate it as stupid, lazy girl, but it really doesn't really mean that. It means a person who doesn't understand your language and doesn't understand what you're saying, hasn't made time to learn the way you speak. That's what it really means. Because our Indian people never call a person stupid in their language, except if they're married. I see my grandma and grandpa always call each other that. But nakataushin also, cut my basket, and she had designs, because because before, if you don't have no designs on it, your basket's naked. And if it's naked, it'll get horny. Or you'll want to do horny things. So old people say, put design on it. That's why those designs are there. It's order. So when you get naked basket, be careful. It ain't no candy in there. And so the basket, she handed to Grandma, and Grandma cried tears of joy. Oh, I'm going to give you a new Indian name. You're a woman now. You're a strong woman. And I'm so proud that you made yourself strong and you listened to the teachings of nature. Oh, and I was so grateful that you went and listened to teachings in nature, because I got some rest. Yelling at her granddaughter all the time to wake up. And I'm going to give you a new name. And she gave her that name of the basket maker, the one keeping your family together. That's what the weaving means, keeping everybody together. And even the ones who are wild, you can still, the old people can catch up to you. They know where you are. They always knew where we were. We could never hide. And they were always there for us. And she says, now, today, and Grandma Iola, she said, thank God for that stupid, lazy girl. If it wasn't for that stupid, lazy girl, we wouldn't have these beautiful Indian baskets. beautiful works of art, holding water. Baskets could hold water and food, so we could live. And that is all. I get the storytelling. Time just kind of goes on, in the Indian time. My grandma and grandpa. My grandma was not educated in the Western ways, in the white man's ways. But she was educated. She was really, really strong person, and she lived in the time in early days when the steam car came out, and the Model T. And the Model T came. We call the automobile, the car, the canoe on wheels. Now our rivers are the highways, but the old people just prophesied about that. Someday, even the canoes will always have a circle. And when my grandmother, she said she fell in love with the Model T. Oh, and my grandpa, he brought his Model T home, and she wanted to drive. And she said in them days, people drove anywhere, all over the place, and there was no order, And the horses, and some elders would make fun of the people, because people still depended on the horses. The horses still would be pulling the Model Ts out of the mud, My grandma always remembered that. Because my grandmother, she raised Appaloosas. She loved horses. We call horses kusi kusi. Kusi kusi is like kusi is a dog. Kusi kusi is a big dog. And so the horse is really a big best friend. Like the dog is the best friend, And so my granny, she wanted to learn how to drive. And my grandpa said, I'll teach you how to drive if you learn how to mechanic your own car. If you fix your own car, I'll teach you. And she did. She was our first mechanic, and she taught my aunts, and they were the first Indian women to have their own place, a mechanic shop, fixing everybody's cars, And my grandmother didn't know how to read and write, but she knew how to change your oil and put gas in your car. And then she was like she was at a symphony or something, and she'd open the hood, Her favorite car when I was growing up was a 1961 Chevrolet Impala. Ooh. And there she'd pull that hood up, and then she'd pull check in the oil. She, that's you gotta look at Luby. That's what she called the oil. And like checking, how in them days, and then she pulled it out like that, just really enjoying the rag and all that stuff. And she just had so much fun. Oh, yeah. I forgot to tell you what to say. So I'm telling this story in Nutka. So you can say, Ikla. Or Kekla. And so she didn't know how to read and write, and she used to like to drive 80 miles per hour or 100 miles. And she would joke, I don't know how to read, But she used her medicine powers, and she knew when the cops were nearby. And she'd go, you make medicine sound. Hi. She called her medicine power her stool pigeon. Hi, my stool pigeon telling me Cops. Cops are hiding mile down the road, hiding behind bushes. Slow down. She'd slow down. At that time, you could go 60, 65, and there, sure enough, there were the cops. And then she'd get a few miles down the road, and she'd speed back up to 80 or 100. And she drove that way all her life. She lived to 113. She drove her car until she was 112. My grandpa was 108 when he passed. He didn't live as long because I think he was overeducated. he got a doctorate's degree, and he taught English at the University of Victoria, and he taught white people how to speak proper English. And he'd get mad at grandma and says, "You better learn how to read and write. Someday the police gonna throw you in jail and the key and everything. You better learn how to read and write and get driver's license." And after he was done preaching to her, she said, "Oh, you're so well educated. You're civilized. How come you have 5 traffic tickets? And I don't even have 1. Ha ha." And she'd always say she would never throw her pearls to pigs. That's and some of the people use that word for the police, pigs. I'm not going to wear my pearls around them. Boy speaks really good Maidu sign language. Thank you. So anyway, should we take a break or?
You can keep on. You
Can I? Oh, okay. I'll tell one more story, and we'll take a little break and come back for more story or whatever. Isn't it wonderful to listen to one another? I mean, there's people who go to storytellings. I was so shocked when I got involved with the storytelling many years ago, over 40 years ago. My Auntie Vi Hilbert, my beloved aunt, she was such a beautiful person. She was our first Native American woman professor, the first one to get a doctorate's degree, and the first one to go back to school. She didn't go back to school until she was in her 60s. And she says, "I'm going to get an education." And she didn't have a ghetto education diploma, the GED. she says, "I had that high school diploma." It's the same thing as GED. But she liked to challenge her mind, and so she got a doctorate's degree. And she taught our native language at the University of Washington for many years. And she was a wonderful linguist. And it was so wonderful to have someone to speak the old language, the old way. Because in the way we speak, our language, all when the old timers were alive, for example, this way would sound when everybody's just talking to each other, just conversing. Now this is the way our younger Indian people talk the Indian now. It's so monotone and boring, and it's just like they don't have no life in it. My grandmother used to say, when you talk Indian, you make people feel good, or they might even get an orgasm. Because you're full of life. And so now, that's a lot of places I go, it's so weird to me to hear some of them that learn from a computer, or the teacher learning how to talk Indian. Holcha Pakada Lao Chote Quata Kokala Ritan. Chota Kotatan. I thought that was just so funny. But anyway, I'm just so thankful for this one beaded bag I wanted to tell a story about. This is I copied this design from my grandmother. It's from the Yakima side of the family. Grandma Ivy let me borrow her beaded bag. And, in old Indian ways, I was so proud when I first beaded my first beaded bag. And then I turned it over. The old people, the old ladies who were looking, they looked. How come you didn't bead the other side? I said, there's a lot of bleeding fingers. and it takes a long time. But anyway, so I like what Chief Dan George said a long time ago in the 60s. He said, when a white man come, we were okay just working with quill work and big giant beads. Then they start trading us this glass beads, tiny, tiny beads. And then we make beaded clothes, fully beaded outfits, beaded purses, showing off. We got the latest fashion, fully beaded everything, beaded tennis shoes, beaded whatever. And look what happened. We all became nearsighted. And then the white man got all our land. We all went blind. But anyway, that's not the story. I don't know. I must be telling stories. So I'll share this since it was Grandma Ivy, in Tulalip language or Snohomish. And you could say habu. And then Granny, I asked Granny, I used to call her, sometimes just call her Mom. Mom, do you like to learn how the beading, a little bit? I'll show you. In old Indians, they don't like to tell you. They like to tell you, but they don't step by step. They say, you watch and you learn. And if you don't learn it, you weren't supposed to do it. So she said, I'll show you how I do it. Just watch and learn. Don't ask me no question. Habu. Oh, Habu. Just teach it. And so she brought this, and it was the same. I used the same colors, exact same. The only thing that is different from her beaded bag is that this line of the rainbow line here. And she had the rainbow line in the underworld, in the earth. And she said, I named this my lovebirds. But then she told me another story. To see, that's how stories, you learn the genealogy of where the stories come from. She started talking about her grandmother. It was her grandmother's bag. Mary Slocum. Mary Slocum, who started the Indian Shaker religion. And she'd go listen to the beautiful birds. And they said there were so many birds. There's so many songs, people. It was just so beautiful. There were more birds than they are today, And the flowers. And then, and then her grandmother talked about each flower, how they were medicines. This flower here, good flower when you're in love. It's a flower just to look at, to remember you're in love. And this other pink flower is a good flower to just fantasize people who are mean to you and how they're going to die. but in a very high class way, of course. Nothing messy. And then and then talked about all, and the bluebirds, kai. The gossipers, and she said, when you listen to the gossipers in the forest, you don't need to listen to your relatives. And the beads that she had on her beaded bag were from Russia. They were tiny. But these ones that I got are from Czechoslovakia. And the Russians, the Czechoslovakians, they make the most tiniest and beautiful, glass cut beads. And she said she wanted it to be all cut glass because each of us are like the many facets of a diamond. Our life is so precious. We don't know who will help us and who will be helped by us. To 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. And the fringe, she had fringe. The reason I got different, I call this the hippie fringe, different colors, the rainbow hippie. And that's the way my grandmother had it on her bag. All different kinds of beads, but they were all glass beads. And because it was to celebrate all the colors. And she'd say, it's the Great Spirit has 4 favorite colors: the red, yellow, black, and white. We are precious in His sight. Thank you, Rachka. Please don't squeeze the Charmin.
Johnny Moses, this is what we're gonna do. Johnny Moses. He's not going anywhere. What we're gonna do is Lawrence laughing or happy and Jacob Isaacson are gonna sing us out. But then we're gonna get all these chairs out of the way. There's some refreshments. Johnny will be sitting here in the elder wisdom throne of Pendleton. And he'll be here, we'll be here. Let's look at his art, let's look at his stuff. Johnny Moses, I love you so much, it's not even funny. I'm sure there's some Yakima word for just overwhelming amount, like a sickening amount of love. I love you. Thank you so much for doing this with us. Thank you all so much for being here. And Happy and Jacob, take us home, brothers.
Making relations or making treaty, making friendship. So that's something we've done here today. So it's a treaty song, and treaty where I come from means that we're now relatives. That's what a treaty is. We're now the same. So. We are Yahweh, oh, Yahweh, oh, Yahweh, oh, Yahweh, oh, we are Yahweh, oh, Yahweh, oh, Yahweh, ho, ho. Actually, we're going to do this right. Can I get everyone to stand, please? So the step, so my people where I come from do not have this step. So this step is like a universal step. It's called a two-step. 1, 2, 1, 2, and you do it in place to the beat. So this is part of this song, and this is the way we learn to dance it where I come from. But like I say, this is not a step from my home. This is a universal step. Ready? We are here, we are, we are, we are, we are, go Yahweh, Yahweh, ho, Yahweh, ho, ho, we are, we are, we are, we are, go Yahweh, Yahweh, ho. We are here, we are, we are, we are, we are, go Yahweh, Yahweh, ho, Yahweh, ho, ho, we are, we are, we are, we are, go Yahweh, Yahweh, ho, Yahweh, ho, ho. Thank you, my relatives. Oh. I'll give you a hug, Johnny.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you all so much for participating in this. Let's grab chairs.
Oh,
We're gonna
sure.
move into